My son's fiancée got a text from Daddy. It was my dead husband. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the glass of champagne. I was standing in the bridal suite adjusting the veil on my future daughter-in-law, Jessica. She was glowing, the picture of a perfect bride. She asked me to hold her phone while she stepped into her dress. That's when it buzzed. I glanced down, expecting a text from my son, Leo, but the screen didn't say Leo, it said soulmate. That wasn't the part that stopped my heart. It was the photo attached to the contact. It was a selfie, a man in a blue fishing hat smiling in front of a palm tree. It was my husband, Marcus. My husband who fell off a cliff and died 5 years ago. I stared at the screen, my breath catching in my throat. The timestamp on the photo was today, 9:42 a.m., and the text below it read, "Don't worry, babe. Once you sign the marriage license, the trust fund unlocks and we are gone. I'll pick you up out back." Jessica came out of the dressing room beaming. "Do I look beautiful, Elena?" I looked at her, then at the phone in my hand. I forced a smile that felt like broken glass. "You look expensive, Jessica." I knew right then my husband wasn't dead, and my son was about to marry the mistress who helped him fake it. But before I tell you about the text message, you have to understand, I thought I was going crazy for weeks. It started with the smell. Old Spice and Tobacco. Marcus's smell. I'd walk into the kitchen at 2 a.m. and the scent would be heavy in the air like he'd just left the room. Then the phone calls started. Dead air. Just silence and heavy breathing. I told Leo, "I think someone is watching the house." He looked at me with those pitying eyes. "Mom, it's the anniversary of Dad's accident. Stress plays tricks on you. Jessica says you've been acting erratic." That's when I realized Jessica wasn't just marrying my son. She was gaslighting me. She was painting me as the crazy grieving widow so that when I finally spoke up, no one would believe me. One night I saw him, a silhouette standing by the tree line of our property. I ran out in my bathrobe, screaming, "Marcus!" into the dark. But there was no one there, just fresh tire tracks in the mud. I wasn't haunted by a ghost. I was being hunted by a memory. I had 2 hours before the wedding started. I told Jessica I needed to check on the catering and ran to the bathroom. I locked myself in a stall and hyperventilated. Marcus died 5 years ago. We never found the body. The search team said the river current was too strong. I grieved for years. I paid off his gambling debts with my life savings. The text message on the wedding day wasn't the first red flag, it was the final nail. But the first red flag? That happened 3 days prior. The smell of Marcus's cologne, the phantom figure in the dark, the unsettling feeling that Jessica was playing a game. It all swirled in my mind. But I needed proof. I needed something tangible to hold on to, something that wasn't just my grief-addled imagination. It started subtly. Jessica, who claimed to be struggling financially, suddenly had new designer bags, a new watch. She'd always been careful with money, almost frugal. Now she was flashing cash, making excuses about wedding gifts from distant relatives. But the relatives she mentioned were notoriously cheap. My suspicions grew. One afternoon, I saw her at the local coffee shop. She was on her phone laughing, and then she pulled out a wad of cash, crisp, $100 bills, to pay for a latte. A latte! Who pays for a latte with a $100 bill unless they're trying to break it? And where was this sudden influx of cash coming from? Leo certainly wasn't giving it to her. I decided to watch her. It felt wrong, like I was betraying my son, but the alternative, letting this gnawing doubt consume me, felt worse. I started keeping a mental log of her movements, her phone calls, the little inconsistencies. Then came the day she said she was going for a final dress fitting. She kissed Leo goodbye, promising to be back in a few hours. But when she pulled out of the driveway, she didn't turn left towards the bridal boutique. She turned right, towards the industrial district. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. This was my chance. I grabbed my keys, jumped into my car, and followed. I kept a safe distance, 2 cars back, trying to blend into traffic. My hands were clammy on the steering wheel. What if she saw me? What if I was wrong? What if I was truly losing my mind? She drove for about 20 minutes past warehouses and auto repair shops until she pulled into a rundown facility called Safe Keep Storage. The paint was peeling, the gate rusty, not exactly a place for wedding dress fittings. She punched a code into the keypad and the heavy metal gate slowly rumbled open. I watched as she drove to Unit 404. She rolled up the corrugated metal door. She didn't take out a dress, she took out a duffel bag. And then a man stepped out from the shadows of the unit to help her. He was wearing a hoodie, his face obscured by the shadow of the brim. He leaned in, and I saw him kiss her on the cheek. My breath caught in my throat. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to capture the moment, but my hands were shaking too violently. The image was burned into my mind. Jessica, my son's fiancée, embracing a mysterious man in a desolate storage unit. Who was he? A secret lover? I thought she was just cheating on Leo. If only I knew then that the man in the hoodie was the man whose grave I visited every Sunday. After they finished, the man disappeared back into the unit, and Jessica locked it up. As she drove away, I pulled my car forward, my mind racing. I needed more. I needed something concrete. I scanned the ground around Unit 404, and there, glinting in the harsh afternoon sun, was a small, crumpled piece of paper. I picked it up. It was a receipt for a burner phone, purchased 2 weeks ago, the same week the cologne smell started, the same week the phone calls began. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just an affair. This was something far more sinister. I needed proof. I remembered Jessica gave me her old iPad to play slideshows for the rehearsal dinner. It was still synced to her iCloud. I ran to my car, grabbed the tablet, and scrolled back. Not 5 years, but 7. Evidence number 1, photos of Marcus and Jessica dating while I was still married to him. Evidence number 2, a plan titled The Exit Strategy. Marcus hadn't fallen. He had staged the accident to escape his debts and cash out a small life insurance policy I didn't know about. The kicker. Leo, my son, had a trust fund from his grandfather that he could only access when he turned 25 and got married. That's why Jessica was marrying him. They were going to take my son's inheritance and run away together. My husband and his soon-to-be daughter-in-law. It was sick, it was twisted. I opened the file labeled The Exit Strategy. I expected to see bank transfers. I expected to see flight details, and I did. But as I scrolled to the bottom of the document, the blood drained from my face. There was a section titled Loose Ends. There was a bullet point with my name on it, Elena, and next to it a note written in Marcus's handwriting style. Once the trust fund clears, the executor, Elena, will ask questions. She has a history of high blood pressure. A heart attack wouldn't look suspicious. I dropped the iPad on the car seat. They weren't just going to take the money and run, they were going to kill me. Marcus, the man I shared a bed with for 20 years, had planned my murder as a line item on a spreadsheet. I wasn't just stopping a wedding anymore. I was fighting for my survival. I sat in the car for 20 minutes staring at the steering wheel. I remembered the time Marcus bought me this car. I remembered how he held my hand when my mother died. How could that same man be planning this? Was everything a lie? Every kiss? Every "I love you"? The betrayal hurt worse than the fear. I wasn't going to let the wedding happen. Actually, no, I was going to let it happen, but not the way they planned. I found Leo in the groom's suite. He was fixing his tie in the mirror, humming a song. He looked so handsome, so happy. He turned to me, beaming. "Mom, look at this knot. Dad taught me this one, remember? I wish he could be here." The mention of Marcus felt like a physical blow to my stomach. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to let him have his wedding. But I knew if he walked down that aisle, he was signing his own death warrant, and mine. I walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. My grip was too tight. "Leo," I said. My voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from underwater. "We need to go for a drive." "Now?" He laughed, checking his watch. "Mom, the ceremony is in 2 hours. I can't leave." "You have to," I whispered, "or you'll regret it for the rest of your life." The car ride was silent. Leo tried to turn on the radio, but I turned it off. I drove fast, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I was driving toward the Safe Keep storage facility on the edge of town, the place I'd tracked the burner phone to. "Mom, you're scaring me," Leo said, his voice trembling. "Is it Jessica? Did she change her mind?" "I wish it were that simple, Leo." We pulled into the gravel lot across from Unit 404. We waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The air conditioning hummed, battling the heat, but I felt freezing cold. "Mom, this is crazy. I'm going back to the..." Look, I interrupted. A silver sedan pulled up to the unit. The driver's door opened. Leo squinted through the windshield. That's Jessica's car. But Jessica didn't get out. A man did. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, but the walk was unmistakable. The slight limp in the left leg from an old football injury. The way he rolled his shoulders. The man took off his sunglasses to wipe sweat from his forehead. I heard Leo's breath hitch. It was a sound of pure, broken devastation. No, he whispered, that's not possible. It is, I said, tears finally spilling over. He didn't die in the river, Leo. He ran away, and now he's back for the trust fund. Leo fumbled with the door handle, his hands shaking so violently he couldn't open it. He scrambled out of the car, fell to his knees on the gravel, and emptied his stomach. He threw up until there was nothing left, retching and sobbing at the same time. I got out and held him, my grown son weeping like a child in the dirt. He wasn't crying because his father was dead. He was crying because his father was alive and had chosen money over him. We stayed there for 20 minutes until the tears stopped. When Leo finally stood up, the boy I knew was gone. His eyes were red, but they were dry and they were cold. Ice cold. He looked at the man in the distance, his father, smoking a cigarette without a care in the world. Then he looked at me. Does she know? He asked. Is Jessica? I handed him the iPad with the emails. She planned it, Leo, all of it. He swiped through the messages. His jaw tightened until I thought his teeth would crack. He didn't scream. He didn't yell. He just handed the iPad back to me and smoothed down his suit jacket. Get in the car, Mom, he said. His voice was terrifyingly calm. Where are we going? I asked. To the police? No, Leo said, opening his door. We're going to a wedding. If they want a show, let's give them one. The ceremony went ahead. I watched Jessica fake her vows. I watched her squeeze out a tear. When the priest asked if anyone objected, Leo squeezed her hand tight, too tight. I do, he said. They signed the papers. Jessica's eyes lit up. She thought she had won. She thought the money was hers. I tapped the microphone glass. Clink, clink, clink. Can I have everyone's attention? I asked. The room went silent. Jessica was texting under the table, probably telling Marcus to bring the getaway car. I have a special slideshow, I announced, a tribute to love. The projector screen lowered. Jessica smiled, expecting baby photos of Leo. Instead, the first photo appeared, Marcus and Jessica kissing on a beach. Dated yesterday. The crowd gasped. Jessica dropped her phone. As many of you know, I said, my voice steady, my late husband Marcus passed away tragically, but it seems heaven has great Wi-Fi. I clicked the next slide, a screenshot of the text. Once you sign the marriage license, the trust fund unlocks. Jessica, I looked down at her from the stage. You're right about one thing. The trust fund did unlock upon marriage, but you didn't read the fine print of grandfather's will. In the event of infidelity or fraud, the executor of the estate has full discretion to freeze assets. I am the executor. Jessica stood up, screaming, You crazy witch, that's Photoshop. Is it? Leo stood up. He pulled out his phone. Because I just texted the number you have saved as soulmate. I told him the coast is clear and to come in the back door. The double doors at the back of the reception hall swung open. There he was, Marcus. He was wearing a tuxedo, holding 2 plane tickets, grinning like an idiot. He hadn't heard the speech. He thought he was walking into a chaotic getaway. He froze when he saw 200 people staring at him. He froze when he saw me. Marcus, I whispered into the microphone, you look good for a corpse. The realization hit him. He turned to run, but the best man, Leo's linebacker friend from college, tackled him into the chocolate fountain. The police arrived 10 minutes later. It turns out, faking your death to commit insurance fraud is a felony. So is conspiracy to defraud a trust fund. Jessica tried to claim she was a victim, that Marcus groomed her. But the text on the iPad proved she was the mastermind behind the accident 5 years ago. The annulment was signed the next day. Leo was heartbroken, but he was free. As for me, I visited Marcus in prison once. Behind the glass, he looked old, tired. Why, Marcus? I asked. I wanted a fresh start, he said. I wanted to be rich. I smiled and held up a piece of paper. Well, you got your wish. You're single again. I sold the house, I liquidated the assets you left behind, and I'm taking Leo to Italy with his trust fund money. You're officially dead to us, Marcus. This time for real." I hung up the phone and walked out. I didn't look back. The silence that fell after the sirens faded was deafening. It was the sound of a future unwritten, a past finally laid to rest. Jessica, her face a mask of disbelief and fury, dragged away in handcuffs. Marcus, his bravado shattered, his carefully constructed empire crumbling around him. They thought they were untouchable. They thought they had buried their secrets deep enough, but they underestimated a mother's love, a widow's grief, and a woman's resolve. For so long I felt like a ghost in my own life, haunted by Marcus's memory, manipulated by Jessica's lies. I was a pawn in their twisted game, a victim waiting for the next blow, but somewhere along the way, in the shadows of my investigation, in the cold dread of discovering their plot, I found something I thought I'd lost forever: myself. This wasn't just about justice for Marcus or for Leo. This was about reclaiming my peace, my dignity, my future. Every sleepless night, every whispered fear, every piece of evidence I unearthed, it all led to this moment. And as I watched them being led away, I didn't feel hatred. I felt a profound, chilling satisfaction. It was a revenge so sweet it tasted like freedom. Leo, my son. He stood there, broken, but finally seeing the truth. It will take time for him to heal, for us to heal, but we will, because now there are no more lies, no more shadows, just the stark, painful truth and the long road to rebuilding. And me, I am not the same woman who wept over a grave or who trembled at the thought of a text message. I am stronger, sharper, and fiercely independent. My life is mine again. The past is a lesson learned, a battle won. And the future? The future is an open road, unburdened by deceit and filled with the quiet, powerful hum of a woman who finally, truly lives on her own